Cheers. Vanessa, let's welcome you to the program. And well, the defense contractor that was referring to at the beginning of the program, who could that have been?
Well, none other than Elbit Systems, of course, the center of all the controversy over the prescribing of Palestine Action as a terrorist group in the UK for actually sabotaging Elbit systems that are providing 85% globally of the drones to the Israeli military. So this was back in February, a report in Shepherd Defense Media. Final two contenders for key $2 billion British Army training contract selected, and that reduced it back then down to two main contenders that were mentioned in the article. For the Army Collective Training Service, acronym is ACTS. Of the 7 original bidders for the partnership, 3 had already withdrawn. The 2 successful consortia are Omnia Training, led by Raytheon UK, and a team led by Elbit Systems UK. And then much more recently, towards the end of August, this was in the campaign against armed violence. The director of the organization, Ian Overton, wrote that concern as the Ministry of Defense reportedly poised to hand $2 billion in training deal to Elbit Systems, Israel's largest arms firm. And let's have a look. I'll just summarize in the next slide basically what was said within the article. So the project is to deliver training for 60,000 British soldiers each year. It will transform how the army prepares for operations, while in fact there's very little detail on what that preparation will include. Since 2023, Elbit has been involved in Project Vulcan, a £57 million 10-year program to train tank crews. It is wholly owned and controlled by Israel, Elbit Systems. This is very important because it's very much portrayed by the British government as being a UK company. But the profits from UK arms production flow back to Israel, and there is a major senior staff overlap. It is a UK subsidiary. It's a local contractor to the British regime and part of Israel's wider military-industrial complex. So it's very much smoke and mirrors when the British government tries to basically hide the fact that the government is not involved with an Israeli weapons manufacturing outfit that is complicit with the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza and the occupied territories. Even beyond this, it was actually private eye, but reported by Ian Overton, that there are 2 senior members of British armed forces that have now joined the advisory board of Elbit in the UK. The first being Sir Simon Bolam. You can freeze frame and read the details on him. And the second being, the next slide, please, Lieutenant General Sir Mark Poffley, KCB OBE. Both of them very high-level members of, or former members of the Ministry of Defense, now joining an Israeli arms company that is complicit in genocide against Palestinians. Now, this has generated a motion from within Parliament, basically raising alarms about the armed forces training contract and Elbit Systems. And if we have a quick look at the text of that motion, it's been signed by, I think, upwards of 25 MPs, the majority being from Plaid Cymru and Labour, unsurprisingly. But what it actually says is that, as I said, Elbit supplies 85% of drones to the Israeli military, conducting what is described by many international humanitarian law organizations, including the ICJ, as a genocide. It will entrench Elbit at the heart of UK defense, so an Israeli company, again, at the heart of UK defense industry. And of course, we've been covering that at UK Column, the involvement in Oracle, in the storage of information for the Ministry of Defense and other sectors of British governance. And from a reputational, legal and moral perspective, this puts Britain in danger of being prosecuted, of course, for being complicit in genocide. That is their main concern. At the same time, we still have the unlawful keeping the Filton 24 members of Palestine Action, who led the direct action campaign against Elbit systems in an attempt to highlight the genocide and prevent the genocide. And they, of course, have spent a year, in fact, I think now it's more, in prison without trial. The first trial of, I think, 3 members of Palestine Action will be taking place on the 17th of November at Woolwich Crown Court. And we've also talked regularly about the conditions that these young people are being kept in remand. I mean, effectively, they are going through abuse and torture at the hands of the state. Now, one interesting fact is that very recently, this was in The Guardian, Israeli arms manufacturer closes the UK facility targeted by Palestine Action. Now, this is perceived as a success at the hands of direct action by Palestine Action. My suspicion is that it's going to reemerge somewhere else, potentially be renamed or rebranded. So we need to keep an eye on that. But absolutely extraordinary that the British government is pursuing collaboration with Elbit systems, despite all of the controversy surrounding it, while effectively torturing and abusing their own citizens for actually protesting genocide in the UK.
You got some thoughts?
Yes, indeed. I just wanted to say, Vanessa, that absolutely take the point of the links with the Israeli company and the genocide currently going on in Gaza, but not even aside from that, the fact that we have a foreign nation, namely Israel, now burying itself directly into the heart of UK military training. This is at a level which it means that Israel would be given access to every single real capability, particularly of the army. This to me is utterly incredible. What decision has been taken that Israel is trustworthy enough to even deal with training secrets within the UK military, aside from the secondary point, which is, absolutely valid, of this company being linked into the horrors going on in Gaza? I've talked about this dual nationality problem before, and I think that you are absolutely highlighting it here.
Any comment?
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, thank you, Vanessa. Sandy, let's welcome you to the program then. And we've been talking over the last couple of weeks about maybe what's going on behind the scenes with respect to the incitement of feeling and emotion with people in the UK over the migrant issue. What have you got on this? Yes. Sorry, Sandy. I'm afraid we can't hear you. I think you're going to need to try to reconnect. We might need to move on and come back to this.
Well, just before we do, Mike, I think just to add a little bit more to this business of Israel, it's quite incredible that back in the days of Francis Maude, he was the minister who suddenly announced that we'd gone into this massive pact with Israel, MOU, I think it was a memorandum of understanding at the time, which meant that Israeli intelligence services were absolutely going to be partnered with British intel. We were going to be bringing in GCHQ, we were going to be bringing in the universities. And there was absolutely no full debate in the House of Commons over the risks of this. And now we've moved forward to the fact that Israel is not only burying itself into the NHS, it's now at the heart of British military. It's becoming difficult to tell whether we've got a government which is actually being run from Westminster for the benefit of the people in UK, or we're simply now some sort of overseas colony of Israel. I'm being pretty tough in this, but I think there's some really serious questions to be asked. And we should also be looking at the names of the people who've set up these joint arrangements with Israel. Who were they? Where are the minutes of the meeting? And what is proposed next?